All right. I wasn't on the pod last week. I'm working the night shift. I had to find a way to get in and say my 2 cents this week. Obviously, it's the Tulsa game. I understand this isn't OU Texas, and I needed to have something to get off my chest. No, this is different. I understand, but there's still a lot of things to talk about in this game. OU covers. OU puts up 60 plus, but they give up 17 to Tulsa. So I feel like there's a lot of things to talk about here. And I already kind of talked about it in my half game TikTok, my half pod. Oh my God, I'm just completely just stuttering. This is what happens whenever I've been off the pod for a while. Yeah, my halftime TikTok I posted. And also, I did a little post game TikTok as well, getting kind of my thoughts on what was going on throughout this game. And I feel like the three biggest points to take away is the coaching staff really, really tried hard to please the fans. And obviously, there might have been some damage control with what happened last week. Obviously, there are some things on the offensive side of the ball that were off the field that people were not happy about. So, yeah, they're trying to give the fans what they wanted. So, I think number one, the biggest thing that this coaching staff was trying to do was put the young running backs in a position to go out and succeed and give them a shot to earn a spot in our rotation moving into Big 12 play. And to be honest with you, from what I saw with the eye test, and obviously the stats really don't show it that well either, I don't know if you can tell me Javonte Barnes or Gavin Sawchuk deserves a running back 2 or a running back 1 in this offense. I think Tolly Walker's earned running back 1. I think Marcus Major has earned running back 2. I'm going to say that again. They've earned running back 1 and running back 2. It's not just because they're older and there's seniority here. No, I think that throughout this early part of the season, we've given shots to all 4 of those running backs, and Tolly Walker has been the one guy who's broken away and actually made some big-time plays and deserved those spots. Gavin Sawchuk in this game, he had a couple of plays in the passing game that I liked, but running the ball between the tackles, I didn't see much from him. He didn't really have many lanes to run through. Javonte Barnes, I just feel like I wish he had one more step of quickness. I feel like I just don't feel confident that he's going to make a big play whenever he's running in the backfield. So looking at their stats, looking at them from the eyeball test, I just don't foresee them being in the consistent rotation moving on into this season. And for fans, I think that the yelling about getting the younger guys in may start to fizzle out after this game. It's not that they had a bad game. Like Javonte Barnes averaged over 5 yards a carry and had a touchdown at a 17-yard run as well. It's just like I just would expect a little bit more. And so I just think that just keeps him in that running back 3 spot. And then Gavin Sawchuk, maybe he's not 100% healthy. Maybe that's the case. We knew that coming into the season, he wasn't fully healthy. So I think Gavin Sawchuk is still at running back 4, but I feel like he still will have some opportunity to play in the passing game, hopefully throughout this season. But in terms of the run game, I think it's going to be Tolly Walker, Marcus Major, and they should have the first opportunities. So then number 2, I think that the coaching staff was really trying to please the fans, and the fans have been asking for this a lot, is more deep balls. Try to take the top off the defense rather than just these slants and these little tiny 5 to 10 yard routes that Dillon Gabriel has been pre-scripted to throw. And we had them, even though they were scripted deep balls, which obviously Jeff Lebby's offense will be highly scripted. That's just what it's going to be. They worked and it was great. So, I mean, we got plenty of Nick Anderson touchdowns, 3 of them. You know, Andrew Anthony Ryan, that first drive, took the top off the defense, had a big time play. These are the things that we want to see from this Oklahoma offense. Try to go out and use your skill players whenever we know that we have, especially in these games, the majority of these games, except for Texas, we should have more skill on our skill players than the other team's defense has. We should utilize that to our advantage. So going deep and trying to have a guy like Andrew Anthony beat someone usually should work more times than it shouldn't. So I'm glad that we saw that the one time that the deep ball didn't work, Dillon Gabriel got pass rushed, and we know he doesn't do the best whenever he's under pressure. And he threw the ball with a guy in his face and threw the ball more towards the inside than the outside and got picked off. Whenever you're throwing to a smaller wide receiver like Gavin Freeman, you can't throw it to the middle of the field. And I understand that probably wasn't his intention whenever he was having a defender in his face. You just got to throw that to the side. Don't try to make that play. That's just going to have to be an L and you move on. So overall, I'm pretty happy with the way Dillon Gabriel played. I know some people will say, oh, it's an interception. You should not be getting an interception versus Tulsa. Like I said, that's just a fluke. He only threw 3 incompletions, 5 touchdowns. His dad was on TV half the game. Like, I know our colleague Boat Blake of the podcast hates parents on TV. I mean, I don't like it either. It is not fun to consistently watch a tiny little screen while they're interviewing people in the stands. Like, we don't need to make this game about the broadcasters and the interviewers. We need to make the game about football. So keep the game full screen. We don't need people getting interviewed on the side. Interview people whenever there's a timeout, whenever there's nothing going on. But moving on from that, I was really pleased with the way the wide receivers play and the deep balls. But the number 3 thing that I feel like this coaching staff is trying to do to please these fan base, who is kind of a little bit disgruntled, even though they've been pretty happy, is be aggressive on defense. And that came with the turnovers, 5 interceptions. How many of those interceptions, though, were because of Tulsa, and how many of them were because of us? I'd say maybe 1 or 2 of them are us, and 3 of them were probably just because the quarterback made a poor throw. The thing is, I don't know how many of those type of plays we're going to get during the regular season where quarterback is frazzled. Obviously, these are not starting quarterbacks, and obviously they're Tulsa quarterbacks, and they go back to pass and they just throw it down the field and there is a safety up top, or there's a cornerback already running side by side with the wide receiver. We're not going to get that versus Quinn Ewers and Xavier Worthy. That's not going to be that. We're going to have to be breaking off routes and reading things. Like Peyton Bowen almost had an interception today of going in front of a route and intercepting it in the end zone. He almost had it. So we need interceptions like that. And I think that we're going to have our best opportunity getting plays like that if we can increase our pass rush. And I feel like that was one of the biggest worries coming into this regular season of could we fix our pass rush and our defensive end room, because a lot of us were worried. And I still haven't seen it from the defensive ends. There was a good, I think, drive where we got a decent pass rush on 3 downs in a row. But the first one, it was Isaiah Coe just absolutely destroyed the middle. And then the second one was Jaron Canick came in, got himself a forced fumble, but we had rushed like 8 on that play, or like 7 on that play. We were completely selling out for it. I want to see we rush 3 or 4, and I want to see our defensive ends go out there and beat a tackle and make a play on the quarterback. And Trace Ford has played really well this year. Obviously, huge IQ play, reading the quarterback's eyes and getting the interception. That was one of the 2 I thought like we really earned that interception. Reminding me whenever you're playing NCAA 14, and if anyone here plays NCAA 14, you know, as soon as like the game, like the CPU is doing a halfback screen, it's so obvious and you can just peel off your defensive end and just kind of try to get an interception there. Trace Ford saw it from a mile away. He saw that screen coming and he was just waiting for it, and the quarterback threw it. It was just a poor play, but even better from Trace Ford. But the thing is, like, our pass rush just hasn't been there, and it makes, us look deficient whenever it comes down to the zone that we were running in this, especially in the second quarter. I see Fatty71 in the comments saying it's really hard to be upset other than second quarter weak defense. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, because if we don't have a pass rush and we're playing a weak zone, playing cover 2, the quarterback will be able to pick it off and be able to find gaps, especially on those sidelines and those 15-yard routes. And that's where you really got to lean in on defensive ends. Like, I was expecting so much from a guy like Rondell Bothroyd this year. It's not like he's done bad. I just want someone who can just go out and absolutely disrupt the quarterback's whole game plan at the defensive end position. Trace Ford, he's good, but I don't know how much of he's just going to be a world beater in the pass rushing thing. PJ Adebawara's look good. Like, PJ, he's shown some things, but he's still unpolished. He's still a true freshman. And even though whenever he shows some things, I don't think he's going to be out there every single down whenever it comes down to the pass rush, So I still need to see a lot, and I hate to keep on saying it every single week. I still need to be proved by the pass rush. Whenever you've said that, for 3 weeks in a row, plus we were really skeptical about it in the offseason, it makes me think, is this going to be a problem for us throughout this season? So still have a lot to prove there. Just other little things along the way that I noticed, like Danny Stutzman, he's just so good. He's just so good. He obviously is going to have plays where he misses and goes down the wrong gap. He had it in that first quarter. In the second quarter, I saw a couple plays that were about 10 yards extra because he was a little bit over aggressive. But him being that aggressive is what makes him so special. That's what we're blowing up plays, especially in the run game. Our run defense has been awesome. It's been absolutely awesome this year. Like completely shutting down LJ Johnson and then them only running for 75 yards this game. I've been really, really proud of what this run defense has done. It shows you that there's a lot here to be proud of in terms of our front seven when it comes down to rush. Can they get, these offenses and obvious passing downs if they're shutting down the run on early first and second down and get a pass rush and make big time plays on third down? That is the key to unlock this defense because our secondary, it's good. It's a good secondary. Like, even though there's been injuries, people have been falling a little bit left and right. I'm looking at how Gentry Williams is going to be moving into next week. Not quite sure exactly what was going on with him. Just watching, maybe it looked like a stinger or some sort of like arm injury. I'm not quite sure what exactly happened, but we've got so much depth in this secondary that I'm not worried. People are going to say, oh, that second quarter, we were just giving it to them, just letting Tulsa get whatever they wanted in the pass game. That doesn't worry me. It doesn't, because the defense looked good 3 out of the 4 quarters. I think Kendall Dolby is continuing to show things at that cornerback position in terms of our depth that like not many people are going to talk about him, but he's got a pick and he's playing really well. Just because you're a guy who comes out of JUCO, people aren't going to ready to talk about you as much. He's a pretty good player. So I think we need to put our eyeballs a little bit more on Kendall Dolby as well. Other big takeaways. Jalil Farouk needs to get the ball even more. And it proved to be very, very lucrative this game. I understand. Got the fumble on the kickoff. But putting him back in kickoff return shows how much they believe in the way that he can go out and make plays. Giving him 6 catches this game. Like at the beginning of the year, like we weren't sure what he was actually doing. If he was supposed to be our wide receiver 1, why is he not acting like an alpha? He is an alpha, and we just need to get him the ball more. And we're going to use some gadget plays. We're going to have him coming across, doing little runs, because he can make the first guy miss. And that is an extremely good skill to have as a skill player, as an offensive player. So I'm impressed with him, but he's not the wide receiver 1. I've been saying that since the preseason. Wide receiver 1 is Drake Stoops. If you guys were doubting him last week, it was probably because he was in pain with that AC joint injury. Those things usually go away with a couple weeks. He was still taped up. You could see it under his pads. He's still trying to make sure that he's not going to get it hurt again, but he looks to be closer to 100% now. He's our true wide receiver 1. We run plenty of plays for him, and he will always be Dillon Gabriel's safety blanket. And the thing is, I kind of want to loop back in and just kind of say my 2 cents, because I didn't get to say anything on the podcast on Sunday, is the thing is with Jeff Lebby's offense, it's going to be so highly scripted. It's going to be highly scripted. And that's just what it is. Now, does that succeed well versus high-end defenses? We've seen some things where it doesn't. But versus teams like Tulsa, it picks you apart. It's more relying on the skill of Jeff Lebby to succeed rather than the skill of your quarterback. And that's where I have a problem, because a coach can only do so much to win a game whenever it comes down to beating a guy like an opponent like Texas. A coach can win a game very easily like Tulsa with their play calling. I'm saying, like, with the way Jeff Lebby makes calls, it's you look at the first target, and if the target's not there, the play breaks down. Or you turn your shoulders and you immediately throw it. That works whenever your skill players are a lot better than the other side. But, it doesn't work whenever your number 1 target is taken away from a really skilled defense. So we've seen it in the past that Dillon Gabriel does not do well whenever you get your first target taken away from him. He panics. Sometimes he holds the ball for a little too long, gets sacked. Sometimes he makes a stupid throw. I want to see him extend the play more, survey the field, and kind of like look around and make a play. Be a playmaker. I hate to say this. I'm not making any kind of comparisons here, but I want plays like a Johnny Manziel where the play breaks down and he's continuing to run around in the backfield and then something appears and he makes that play. Dillon Gabriel is very athletic. He can go out, run around the pocket, and wait for something to get made. I just don't see that kind of play style from him that much. And I think he has that potential. And I don't know how much of that is him and the way he deals with pressure, or it's probably both combined with Jeff Levy's offense just doesn't allow quarterbacks to go out there and make their own plays. So we'll have to see throughout this season if there's going to be any kind of modification to Jeff Levy's overall scheme. But from what I'm seeing this season, comparing it to last season, I doubt that much is going to change. It's just going to be highly scripted. And some teams that scout us really well, we're going to have trouble on offense. And that's why we have to lean on our defense. Our defense is better than our offense this year. I'm going to say it again. Our defense is better than our offense this year. The way they've played at the beginning of the season, yes, I understand we're playing inferior opponents. It makes defenses look really good. We did it last year. Same thing last year. Oh, wow, our defense is so good. And then it falls apart whenever we start to play Big 12 players. I still think in terms of just skill levels and just knowing these players we have so much better talent on the defensive side of the ball. And our defense is going to have to put our team in position to win and succeed. So we're not going to go out and score 60 points every single week on the offensive side. There's going to be times where, our punter doesn't have to come out until the second, third quarter, or even the fourth quarter in this game. There's going to be some games, where we're punting 3 times in the first quarter when we still need to go out and win a football game. The old Oklahoma that we all know, if you're punting 2 to 3 times in the first quarter, you're toast. You're absolutely toast. This Oklahoma Sooners football team this year, that is not going to be a concern for us. Our defense is going to put us in position to hopefully win games, even if our offense can't go out and succeed. Those are probably my biggest points. Just kind of fun little shout outs. Reggie Pearson got absolutely cooked by Braylon Presley, but you know how many people Braylon Presley's cooked in his career. He's a legend in terms of Oklahoma football, high school, him and his brother. So that sucks. He was on an island. Oh, well, that was one of the touchdowns. Really, really good route. Really, really good play call from Kevin Wilson. And shout out to Reggie Pearson giving a little bit of a bump to Gentry Williams on his interception return. It seems like Reggie Pearson is only going out for big hits. It's whether it's being a late hit, whether it being his own teammate, whether it being his future quarterback. Like, screw it. I love this Reggie Pearson transfer for Oklahoma. It just makes our safety room so much fun. Other quick shout outs I wanted to talk about. This Jackson Arnold kind of rush thing, I don't know how much I really want to support it moving forward. I understand people are like, oh, they're going to play it up and he's going to pass and it's going to be a big time play in a big game. That happened this game. They said, oh, Jackson Arnold, go out there. You're going to run on, 2 yards to go in the goal line. And then we passed and it didn't work. Like, people know who Jackson Arnold is. People know there's a possibility he can go out there and pass the ball. This is not like we're putting a Julian Edelman, former quarterback, back there, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, you can throw? Like, no, this is not that. People know who Jackson Arnold is. He's National Player of the Year in high school last year. And to be honest, I know he's a good runner, but he's not Blake Bell. He's got a big body, but he's not a guy who's going to bulldoze and move people over. So yes, I do think a quarterback run is a thing that should be used in a short yard set. I'd rather have Jalil Farouk taking that snap, just straight up. I just think that in terms of efficiency, this Jackson Arnold run package isn't it. I just don't think it is. We've been doing really well on the ground, getting what we wanted, and I think that it's more so just an excuse to get Dillon Gabriel not off the field, but it's more so get Jackson Arnold on the field. And they're just trying to find whatever way they can to do it. And I just don't think this is the best way to do it. I think Jackson Arnold knows his role. He knows that it's his time is going to be next year. It's not like they're worried about him being disgruntled and leaving in the transfer portal if he doesn't get enough snaps throughout the season. It's not that. He's got a good head on his shoulders. I just don't really like that package. And I'm hoping it kind of fizzles out, but I strongly doubt it. Overall, other than that, I think I've kind of talked about everything. Just quick shout out, Nick Anderson. We've been talking big about him since the preseason. Man, he is just a fun player to watch. Shout out Rodney in the stands, getting really excited for his brother. But this is a quick little post game. Didn't want to talk too long. Talking 20 minutes by myself is obviously weird anyways, but since I can't go on the podcast this week, I'll be back the following week. I had to go out and put my thoughts somewhere. So go check out Ty and Bobby going live right here, 7:30 Central on Sunday night. And then the weekend spread, it's going to be 7:30 Central on Thursday. Programming note, not Wednesday this week, Thursday. Boat and Blake is going to be moving. So go check that out on Thursday. But if you're checking this out for the first time, I'm not going to tell you to hit the subscribe button or smash or anything, but it'd be pretty nice. So I appreciate all this. Has been the Skinner Pod. Boomer.